Let's not get it mistaken. When I'm like ready to go, I'm locked in and focused, and nothing's gonna stop me. Shook me up, man. Shook me up bad. Like, that's a long conversation to be had. I got humbled last year. Clearly humbled. The coaches would always say, you know, whoever works the hardest is going to get the most playing time. Not necessarily true. As a matter of fact, I think it's farthest thing from the truth. People would talk about, oh, Derek, you know, this bodybuilder from Indiana, like, you know, he could be really good one day. Like, it just drove me to be more disciplined and more dedicated to it, which is a good thing, right? But at the same time, I think I just kept searching for that.
But isn't that with, you know, with everything, it becomes a little bit like an addiction?
Yeah,
and
of course.
Keep a good balance in life.
Right. So that's exactly why I went back to Indiana and spent a lot of time with my family, my friends. I just was myself again.
Has the training been going and stuff like that?
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a really good leg day today. So what I usually do is the first of the year for a September show, Olympia, I'll start training when I get back from the Philippines, like sometime in January, February. I'll start ramping up my training, but you know, I still eat kind of whatever I want. I usually lock down the meals closer to March or April. Remember, you know, last year. And that was when like the quarantine hit, or like the COVID and all that. So we didn't know when the. Ooh, look at that.
Honey drizzled cornbread, maple chipotle butter, ancho chili seasoned salt.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
So when the quarantine hit, or the COVID, we didn't know when the show was going to be. We still assumed it was September. So I just kept training through that, which obviously all the gyms got shut down. I have a friend, he's also a coach and a trainer, who I went to his house. We become really good friends. And actually he just trained me today too. And you know, he let me come there. He had like a 2-car garage, full gym set up. So I just trained at his place, and then we found out that in December, or the show was going to be pushed back to December.
Yeah.
So I just kept training. I backed off a little bit of the intensity and stuff because, truthfully, I just know how my body responds. And if I'm training hard, my body wants to grow.
Yeah.
Like, I train hard, and then you feel the training, and my body's like, okay, we're going to add on more muscle. You're training hard, we need to add more muscle, so here you go. So I had to back off the training just a little bit and just kind of give my body a rest, try my best to have a mental break too a little bit, because let's not get it mistaken. When I'm like ready to go, I'm locked in and focused, and like nothing's going to stop me. So took a step back and just chilled out,
So a little bit more off season again?
Yeah, I kind of transitioned back into an off season, and I actually like was going fishing and doing like some stuff in Indiana, like going to different parks and walking. Yeah, man, it's something I just don't get to do or haven't gotten to do for many years.
Yeah.
Just be like an Indiana dude, you know, during the summer. So did that, spent a lot of time with friends and family back there, and then when I came back, when was it? June. Came back in June. And I said, all right, when I get back to Tampa, it's on my diet, on my training.
That's why you are here.
Yes, that's why I'm here. You know, I want to plant my roots here, and I want to live here. Me and my fiance talked about it. She's nearly done with physical therapy school. She's a doctor of physical therapy. So we're both gonna be here, but yeah, so came back here to train, and we are like 20 weeks out from the Olympia. So things are good, man.
Well, what gyms do you go to now when it's more accessible?
I have 3 gyms that I've been going to. Suncoast that I showed you. Yeah. Powerhouse that I showed you. Yeah.
Excuse me, guys.
And then, oh, you're just fine, thank you. And then I've been training actually at another gym. It's called Retro Fitness.
Yeah.
It's a franchise. It's family owned. This one is, but it's kind of more of the typical. I don't know how to explain it. Like just the typical equipment that you would see at any like franchise gym, which is fine. It's good equipment, great equipment, but like it's got a different atmosphere that I like and that I've been like searching for down here. It's like Suncoast. I feel I can go there. I can just crush it and bury my head and just nobody just even bother me. At Powerhouse, it's kind of more of, I feel like, you don't want to call it a social gym, but you felt the atmosphere was quite different. And then, which are kind of polar opposites. And then Retro kind of just feels a little bit more like Indiana to me, truthfully. So I've been searching for something like that, and I finally found it. So I've been bouncing around those three places. After Olympia, we talked a couple times. Shook me up, man. Shook me up bad. Like, that's a long conversation to be had, but I'm actually quite thankful for it, to be honest. Like I said, I spent a lot of time, many months, just like reflecting on not just like bodybuilding and the Olympia, but like how did I get here? Like, how did I move to Tampa, and how did I like become an Olympia competitor? And like, I just really like went back and reflected totally on myself. Started thinking, like, as I'm growing up. Well, actually, let me just say like this. I got humbled last year. Clearly humbled. And I thought to myself, like, why did I feel humbled?
Yeah.
You know, I started buying into the idea of someone, like, you know, everything that people were saying about me, because I don't know why. So that was kind of what I was asking myself. So I went back and was like, okay, growing up, I had a lot of insecurities. Truthfully, I did. A lot of insecurities. And so, for example, early on, I was big into sports. My dad would come to the basketball games, and I would sit the bench, and he would complain that, not to me, but to the coaches, like, why isn't my son getting playing time? I wasn't that good, let's be honest. The coaches would always say, you know, whoever works the hardest is going to get the most playing time. It's not necessarily the truth. Matter of fact, I think it's farthest thing from the truth, at least from what I experienced. So I just wasn't the best on the sports team. I wasn't the coolest kid in school, nothing like that. So I had a lot of insecurities, like meeting people and stuff like that, and feeling confident in myself. So come high school, man, I took up wrestling, which was like an individual sport, and I clearly, you know, quickly found out that the more you put in, the more you get out, and you don't have to rely on a team or anything. You just, you know, your hard work and your discipline pays off. So I started, when I would hear like, oh man, I seen you in the gym, like you're wearing like trash bags and, you know, sweating out 5 pounds, or like training real hard, or sticking to your diet. I could never do those things. You know, I could never do what you do. I don't have that discipline. When I would hear that from others, man, it would just like, I finally, for once, started feeling like an ego. Like not in a bad way, actually. It was in a good way. I was like, wow, I'm finally like
but it's
confident.
a little bit like encouragement and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm like, man, this is great. Like, and then I can I can actually inspire people to, you know, take themselves to another level. Like you're seeing me push myself this hard physically and mentally, like whatever you like to do, like they could find like motivation for me, kind of. So it was like great to know, like, you know, I didn't mean to seek the validation from other people, but it just kind of so happened that, you know, people would comment, and I was like, oh, cool, like, you know, I motivate you, so wow, I can feel confident about myself. So I kept working harder, and eventually I went from getting my butt kicked, you know, nearly every match of my freshman year of high school, to eventually getting a scholarship and to go to college to wrestle. You know, that was short-lived because something just kept telling me, like, wrestling's not for you. There's not gonna be a future in wrestling for you. So I decided to, you know, go with my gut instincts and transfer schools back home. And went to the junior college, which thank God I did. I met my coach and a lot of other friends there who were bodybuilders. At first, I was like, man, I'm not into this bodybuilding stuff. Like, I'm not putting on those posing trunks, and I'm a fighter, man. Like, I'm training martial arts. I'm training wrestling. I'm ready to, like, you know, get on a mat and one-on-one, you know, not flexing my muscles at people, man. I wasn't into that. But then I started realizing, like, what bodybuilding really was, and maybe if I disciplined myself the same way in bodybuilding as I did in wrestling, maybe if I just set this goal for 3 to 5 years, maybe I could be on the Olympia stage. And, you know, a lot of people would say maybe that's an ignorant mindset to have, but for me, I was very confident, like, if this is another individual sport, that if I just discipline and dedicate myself to bodybuilding like I did wrestling, dude, I can make it. I can make it to the Olympia. I can for sure be a pro, but I'm certain I can make it to the Olympia. So I just, you know, over time, I kept training and kept being disciplined, and, you know, I made that happen. But the real thing I want to get at here is, like, going back to, like, those insecurities and validation from others, is that, you know, when people would talk about, oh, Derek, you know, this bodybuilder from Indiana, like, you know, he could be really good one day, like, it just drove me to be more disciplined and more dedicated to it, which is a good thing, right? But at the same time, I think I just kept searching for that. I kept searching for, like, people to hype me up, you know what I mean? And I think the more that I got that hype, the more it kind of just, I didn't feel like it did at the time.
No.
Kind of messed me up, but like I
But isn't
it.
that with you know, with everything, it becomes a little bit like an addiction?
Yeah,
And
of
then,
course.
And then it has to be like, you know, turn off phase where kind of like try to keep a good balance in life.
Right. So that's exactly why I went back to Indiana and spent a lot of time with my family, my friends. I just was myself again. Because when I moved down here after turning pro, like, I was again all in for bodybuilding. I mean, I already was. Like, I got to the Olympia on my own, meaning with my coach or back in Indiana with some friends who I would train with, which I still train with them now too, here and there. But I came down here, I decided to train in a private facility with another former pro bodybuilder and listen to him. And, you know, I think it was great. I mean, he really taught me a lot of things, definitely pushed me very hard, and took my work ethic and discipline to another level. But the thing people don't realize is that my life was, I'd wake up, I'd do my cardio, I'd go to the gym, I would train my butt off, I'd come home, I'd eat my meals. And that was, I mean, I was eat, sleep, train. That's all I did. All I did was go to the gym, train, come home, stay on my meals, and be as disciplined and dedicated as I possibly could to this sport. And, you know, it paid off because I kept getting better. I kept improving, and I'm not disappointed for that. I continue. I'm still doing that today. But I think what got me and the reason why I felt humbled at the 2019 Olympia was I kept hearing all that that hype and that support that I had for many years. All of a sudden, the narrative was, oh, Derek wasn't at his best. Oh, Derek was off. Oh, he could have been so much better. Oh, he should have won the show. And that I wasn't quite ready for at the time. You know what I mean? Like, I was expecting people to be like, wow, he's improved again, and he presented a phenomenal physique. But the narrative was, oh, Derek sucks. Oh, his coach sucks. Oh, this, like, it was just total garbage that I was hearing, and, like, it was really messing with me bad, like, really bad. And, you know, I'm just admitting it because I don't need, before I wanted people to think like, oh, Derek was born with this champion mentality. But truth be told, man, that's...
But I mean, what we talked about also after the Olympia on the Sunday after was that, you know, champions are born through the failures.
Yeah.
And through their defeats.
Right.
And you can't be a champion without, you know, the failures and the defeats. And I think when we talked back then,
I didn't understand it.
I didn't understand it because it was a little bit too far away.
Yeah.
But now when you have done, you know,
the lot of reflecting, man.
Yes.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and that's what I was saying was before I was like thinking, you know, I was born with this mentality. I thrive off hard work and discipline, but I think I was also thriving off what others were saying, just the same. And whereas now, after some time of thinking, it's like, look, I need to just be zen. And a question I had, there was a seminar the other day.
But I mean, like, it's the same thing, like, you know, when I talk to someone around business, you know, I want to talk to someone who has done both success and failures.
Right.
You know, how can I get the real good, you know, teaching or advice from someone who's only had success, and really don't really know what defeat is and how to overcome it.
Yeah, I'm definitely thankful for. It's
So-
weird because nobody ever wants a setback, man. Like
No.
you never pray for a setback, but you can also be thankful for it because it's going to teach you a lot of things.
Yeah,
And,
I
like,
mean there is going to be a value to it later
oh,
in
absolutely,
life,
yeah.
and it's also going to help us to stay on the straight and narrow
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
Those reflections and
Well, that's exactly what I did. It was like the day after we talked. We talked the day after the Olympia, right? And I mean, ever since then, every day I have thought about. I've just self-reflected and thought about not even as much bodybuilding, because I'm confident that I put everything I possibly can into this. Like, there's no question about there. I could not have done anything more. We could have done a few things different to be a little bit better, but I could not have given more effort than I've given every year.
yeah.
It's just I had to, like I said, self-reflect and be like, and I had to take, I had to not be too encouraged by the comments from others that were supportive, and also not be too discouraged by negative comments from others. So that's what I was kind of getting at, is that just being kind of even keeled, kind of like that happy and thankful for what people say that are supportive and positive, but not getting set back mentally for things that are like, oh, he wasn't at his best. Oh, okay, well, okay, I can be better then, or something. So, anything that's said that's not in a positive manner towards me, it doesn't affect me nearly as much because
But I think when we go through different growth spurts, both as a human and as an athlete, we have a window of opportunity. So let's say where we don't have the right window at our at the time, so we are it's not our time to shine, so to speak. But I think. Imagine if you are judging yourself out of that window of opportunity that is not there, or you are judging it only when you have that window. Um, I think it's important to try to stay a little bit distant from those things and see them a little bit for what they are. Like in the tough times, we continue to dig in deep, and we make the right opportunity happen. But also when the right opportunity happens, we don't take that as the only truth, because there is more to
Right.
it. There is, the timing needs to be there.
Mhm.
So, when we go, like when you're talking about your, what's it with the football and your father and the bench.
Oh, basketball!
The basketball.
I was so dedicated to basketball. I love basketball, but I just wasn't super talented at
Yeah,
it.
but I think like there was also a window of opportunity at that time, and you were judging yourself a little bit too hard with that time.
Mhm.
That window could have been very short because you were very young,
Yeah.
and then you base your whole life out of that experience.
Well, I remember that I wanted to look. My father came to nearly every sporting event I had ever had. I was in almost every sport growing up, and if I was sitting the bench, I felt like a loser or a failure. I'm like, I want to make my dad proud.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I want to
But-
play for myself, but I also want to make my dad proud. So
Yeah.
it was always about pleasing other people and seeking validation from other people. And
Yeah.
and
But
now,
I think we all have a little bit of that, and especially us who end up with bodybuilding. Like I had the same, but I never had a father that was present at all.
Mhm.
But I had the same experience, and I remember, I was judging myself out of
Right.
my ice hockey period, which I was too small, too young, and there was not my window of
Yeah.
opportunity. If I had waited a little bit and stayed my ground, I would shine in that sport.
Yeah.
Instead of I was shining in the football, in the soccer,
Yeah.
but that was later. But at a certain time I couldn't shine in those sports. It was not my time.
Yeah.
But I could bring it out later.
Yeah.
So I just mean that we were judging ourselves a little bit too hard sometimes. instead of taking the lessons a little bit and wait for our opportunity.
Yeah.
And be a little bit calm with it.
That's the biggest thing. That right there, what you just said, being calm with it was, I think, what I learned the most was, again, going back to everything I've been saying was about the hype and the discouragement. Either the support or the discouragement, was weighing too much in my life. And when you can just sit back and go, look, man, you give everything to this. You are, you're being your best every day in, day out. You're giving all that you can, and you should at least be happy with the fact that you gave your all. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And if that wasn't good enough, then go back to the drawing board and stick it out and keep getting better, and just keep refining yourself.
But now you have now you're back from Indiana.
Yeah.
You have back to getting into the gym again, and now it feels better.
I just enjoy it. Like I had to reset my mind and love it again. To be honest, there was a minute where I was like, man, I just put everything into this. I think that I can make a good argument that I could have won, and it didn't pan out that way. And again, that discouragement kind of got to me to the point where I was like, I need to find love for training, and I do. Like I probably haven't loved training this much for a long time.
Yeah, but
Just because I had to remember, like, why did you start, man?
Yeah.
Like, why did you start? Oh, because you love
because
training.
otherwise you could start with a new sport.
Nah.
I mean, but
not
if you
me,
didn't
man.
find it, I mean, if you don't find it, you have to go like you might as well feel like just like
Yeah.
you shifted from baseball to
Right.
to wrestling, and from
Right.
wrestling to bodybuilding. You could always be a seeker, and that's what I meant by if we don't follow through, we become dreamers.
Yes.
And we dream about something all the time without maybe trying to really
And
deliver.
actually, I don't give myself enough credit sometimes, actually, because, and this isn't like a boasting thing that I'm saying, but when I made that commitment to become a bodybuilder, I said, hey, by 2018, I'm going to be at the Olympia, and by 2020, I hope to win the Olympia. I plan to win the Olympia by 2020. I don't know if I've ever told you that. But the reason why I got so messed up in my head, because I got to the Olympia 1 year early, 2017. I thought I should have won it by now. I said, give me 3 years at the Olympia, I'll win the Olympia. Well, guess what? I'm actually still on track to do that. Again, I have to put in the work, and God willing, that window of opportunity is this year. But all I can do is give my all, and that's what I plan on doing.